Søren Kierkegaard, A Life of Exploration of Existence and Authenticity.
Søren Kierkegaard is widely recognized as one of the most important philosophers of the 19th century and the precursor of existentialism. His ideas explore themes such as individual freedom, authenticity, faith, anguish, and despair, challenging us to reflect on our own existence and the values that guide us. Although known primarily for his contributions to existentialism, Kierkegaard shares affinities with Stoicism, especially in its emphasis on authenticity and overcoming anguish. His life and work invite us to face the challenges of existence with honesty and courage, characteristics central to both existentialism and Stoicism.
1813. Birth and Childhood.
Søren Kierkegaard was born on May 5, 1813, in Copenhagen, Denmark. He grew up in a deeply religious family environment, marked by the presence of a strict and demanding father who significantly influenced his moral and spiritual formation. From an early age, Kierkegaard demonstrated a keen intellect and a penchant for philosophical and theological reflection. He studied theology at the University of Copenhagen, where he began to develop the ideas that would later shape his philosophical thinking. This strict family environment and intense religious training contributed to his incessant search for authenticity and truth, concepts that he would explore deeply in his work.
1841. Doctorate and Publications.
In 1841, Søren Kierkegaard obtained the title of Doctor of Philosophy with the thesis on the concept of irony with constant reference to Socrates. This initial work already demonstrated his deep capacity for philosophical analysis and his interest in complex themes such as irony and the authentic expression of the self. The influence of Socrates, a thinker who also emphasized the importance of self-knowledge and authenticity, is evident in this first major work by Kierkegaard. After completing his doctorate, Kierkegaard began publishing his writings under various pseudonyms. This method allowed him to explore different philosophical and literary perspectives, each offering a unique approach to the existential problems he investigated. This multiplicity of voices and styles can be seen as a reflection of his search for truth and authenticity, concepts that also resonate deeply with Stoicism. This practice allowed Kierkegaard to develop a rich tapestry of ideas, contributing to the development of his philosophical thought and leaving a vast and diverse intellectual legacy.
1843. Either or.
In 1843, Søren Kierkegaard published the work Either or, a significant milestone in his philosophical career. In this book, he presents two contrasting views of life, aesthetics and ethics. The aesthetic vision is characterized by the search for pleasure, beauty, and sensory experiences, while the ethical vision focuses on responsibility, duty, and commitment to moral values. Kierkegaard uses these two perspectives to explore the complexity of individual choice and the search for authenticity. The aesthetic life, although seductive, often leads to dissatisfaction and despair, as it lacks a solid foundation. In contrast, the ethical life offers a deeper and more lasting meaning based on integrity and adherence to ethical principles. This dichotomy between aesthetics and ethics resonates with Stoic ideas, especially the appreciation of virtuous living and self-mastery. Stoics also defend the importance of living according to reason and moral principles, rather than seeking ephemeral pleasures. Thus, Kierkegaard's either-or work can be seen as a dialogue with Stoicism, where true freedom and satisfaction derive from a commitment to ethics and authenticity.
1844. Fear and Trembling.
In 1844, Søren Kierkegaard published Fear and Trembling, a work that deeply examines faith and anguish, using the biblical story of Abraham and Isaac as a basis. Kierkegaard explores the dilemma of Abraham, who is called by God to sacrifice his son Isaac, and how this extreme experience of faith transcends reason and conventional ethics. Fear and Trembling investigates the concept of the leap of faith, where true faith requires absolute trust in something beyond rational understanding. Kierkegaard argues that Abraham is a knight of faith, someone who faces anguish and paradox with courage, exemplifying authentic faith that defies logic and human morality. This examination of faith and anguish aligns with Stoic thought in several ways. Stoics also value the ability to face challenges with courage and serenity, highlighting the importance of accepting fate calmly. Although Kierkegaard's approach to faith is more transcendent and personal, both philosophers agree that true wisdom and authenticity come from overcoming anguish and committing to higher principles than immediate pleasures or superficial comforts. Thus, fear and tremor not only deepens the understanding of religious faith, but also dialogues with Stoicism in its exploration of courage, authenticity, and the ability to face the difficulties of existence with integrity.
1845. Stages of Life on the Path of Faith.
In 1845, Søren Kierkegaard published Stages of Life on the Path of Faith, a work that explores the different stages of individual religious development. Kierkegaard identifies three main stages or spheres of existence: the aesthetic, the ethical, and the religious. 1. Aesthetic stage. This stage is characterized by the search for pleasure and personal satisfaction. Individuals living in this sphere are focused on sensory experiences and immediate gratification. Although attractive, this life often results in emptiness and despair, lacking depth and lasting purpose. 2. Ethical stage. In the ethical stage, the emphasis shifts to responsibility, duty, and morality. Here, the individual seeks to live in accordance with ethical principles and social commitments, finding a deeper meaning and a more structured life. 3. Religious stage. The religious stage represents the culmination of spiritual development. At this level, the individual transcends conventional morality and enters into a personal and absolute relationship with the divine. This stage involves total surrender and authentic faith, marked by the leap of faith that Kierkegaard describes in Fear and Trembling. The stages described by Kierkegaard present a progression in the search for authenticity and meaning, a central theme also in Stoicism. While the Stoics emphasize living in accordance with reason and nature, seeking virtue as the highest good, Kierkegaard highlights the need to transcend even ethical morality to achieve a true relationship with the divine. However, they both share the idea that authentic fulfillment and peace come from a deep commitment to something greater than pleasure or social conventions. Thus, Stages of Life on the Path of Faith reflects Kierkegaard's vision of spiritual and existential development, offering a map for those who seek to live with authenticity and integrity, in tune with Stoic thinking about virtue and wisdom.
1846. The Sickness to Death.
In 1846, Søren Kierkegaard published The Sickness to Death, a complex work that delves into themes such as faith, despair, and the search for authenticity. In this book, Kierkegaard explores the concept of despair as an existential condition inherent to the human being, disease that arises from the tension between the finite and the infinite, the temporal and the eternal. Kierkegaard describes despair as the inability to reconcile oneself with one's identity and condition. He differentiates between different forms of despair, from the despair of not being aware of oneself to the despair of being aware of oneself but not accepting that awareness. For Kierkegaard, the true cure for despair lies in faith, an authentic faith that allows the individual to reconcile himself with his own existence and with God. The search for authenticity is a central theme in The Sickness to Death. Kierkegaard argues that authenticity can only be achieved through overcoming despair and accepting one's identity in relation to the divine. This process involves a deep commitment to faith and a willingness to face the most painful truths about oneself and the world. These concepts echo Stoic ideas about the importance of self-understanding and acceptance of fate. For the Stoics, peace of mind and virtue come from understanding and accepting nature and one's place within it. Although Kierkegaard focuses on the religious dimension and the relationship with God, both philosophical systems share an emphasis on authenticity, overcoming illusions and courageously facing reality. Thus, The Sickness to Death not only deepens the understanding of the human condition and faith, but also speaks to Stoicism in its exploration of despair and the search for authenticity, offering valuable insights for those who seek to live with integrity and purpose.
1849. Criticism of the Church.
In 1849, Søren Kierkegaard became an outspoken critic of the Danish Lutheran Church, accusing it of lacking authenticity and spirituality. Kierkegaard saw the institutionalized church as committed to external formalisms and conventions, to the detriment of the true experience of faith and genuine spirituality. For Kierkegaard, authentic religion could not be reduced to external rituals and practices. It required a personal and intimate relationship with God, based on sincerity of heart and the search for inner truth. The Church, in his view, failed to replace this quest for authenticity with rules and traditions that could easily lose their spiritual meaning. This critique of Kierkegaard resonates with Stoicism in its emphasis on the importance of inner truth and personal integrity. The Stoics also argued that virtue could not be merely external, but must be cultivated internally through self-discipline and self-awareness. Like Kierkegaard, they emphasized the need for a genuine connection to higher principles, away from the trappings of social or institutional conventions. Therefore, Kierkegaard's critique of the Danish Lutheran Church not only reflects his quest for spiritual authenticity, but also echoes Stoic principles about the importance of inner truth and personal integrity in the pursuit of a meaningful and virtuous life.
Diaries, 1855.
In 1855, Søren Kierkegaard began writing his personal diaries, a practice that would reveal his deep philosophical reflections, personal experiences, and inner struggles. These journals would become a valuable source for understanding not only his philosophical thinking, but also his spiritual and emotional journey over the years. In his diaries, Kierkegaard recorded his reflections on topics such as existence, freedom, faith, anguish, and despair, offering intimate insights into his deepest concerns and inner battles. He used this intimate writing as a space to explore his ideas freely and without the restrictions imposed by publications under pseudonyms. This practice of self-reflection and self-examination echoes Stoic principles of self-knowledge and self-transformation. The Stoics emphasize the importance of keeping a journal to record thoughts, reflections, and experiences as part of an ongoing process of personal improvement and spiritual development. By writing his diaries, Kierkegaard sought to better understand himself, his motivations, and his aspirations, reflecting on how he could live a more authentic and meaningful life. Therefore, Kierkegaard's diaries not only offer an insider's view of his personal ideas and concerns, but also highlight his commitment to self-exploration and deepening philosophical and spiritual understanding, in keeping with Stoic ideals of self-awareness and authenticity.
1859. Death.
On November 11, 1859, Søren Kierkegaard died in Copenhagen, at the age of 45, a victim of tuberculosis. His death marked the end of a life dedicated to deep philosophical thought and exploration of the complexities of human existence. Kierkegaard left a vast and diverse intellectual legacy, which continues to profoundly influence philosophical and literary thought to this day.
Final considerations.
Søren Kierkegaard is widely recognized as one of the most important philosophers of the 19th century and is often considered the father of existentialism. His work resonates with fundamental themes such as individual freedom, authenticity, faith, anguish, and despair, challenging generations to reflect on their own existence and the values that guide their lives. Kierkegaard significantly influenced subsequent philosophical thought, especially existentialism, which found echo in figures such as Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Martin Heidegger. Furthermore, his ideas permeated literature, theater, and art, enriching the intellectual and cultural debate of his time and beyond. Søren Kierkegaard was a visionary thinker who invites us to face the challenges of existence with honesty and courage. His complex and provocative philosophy continues to inspire and challenge people around the world. If you like the video and would like to follow the life and work of other great historical characters, like and subscribe to our Academy for Modern Stoic channel. Thanks for watching.